Hey, welcome to Daily Faith today. My name is Philip Cameron, and I am glad you're with us today. We have got a great guest. Now, listen to me. Listen to me. This is a dear friend of mine for many, many years. I've known him. I'm letting you know how old I am. But Zach Drew, I first met him on the Jim Bakker program, and he was the research guy. He has an amazing gift at digging and rooting out stuff in the news and then tying it together to give us a pixelated picture of where we are in the world today. And I'm telling you now, if you love end time information and where things are pointing to us, the Bible says when you see these things come to pass, lift up your head, your redemption draws nigh. So these things, we've got to grasp these things, and it's these things that point us and let us know where we are in the compass of time. And so Zach Drew is going to be my guest today, and I just can't wait for you to meet him. Call someone right now. Call your pastor. I keep saying this. You can make this ministry. Excuse me. I got a terrible cough, and if I cough, I can't help myself. I hate it, but I'm working through it. I'm getting better in Jesus' name. But I want you to share this broadcast with as many folk as you can, because Zach is going to bless and blow your mind today with some of the things that he has discovered where we are. A lot of stuff happens around the corner and under the table, and it's reported on obliquely over here and this, behind this, or on Friday afternoons when everyone's going home. And that's where the nuggets are. All this, there are whole millions of tons of rocks and granite. And then you get these nuggets in the middle of it all. And Zach has a gift to find those nuggets and say, hold on a second. This is what they're saying, and this is what they really mean. And that's what this is happening and why this is happening. And I mean this, you need to share this with your friends. You can share this right now. Hit the share button with the folks on your page, and by doing so, you'll allow us to expand and tell more folk about what's going on in the world. Also, that wee bell, you can hit that and turn on notifications and follow us. So when Daily Faith comes on the air, you'll know we're here. This program is here for you, Daily Faith. It's an input into your life of faith and hope and love, and to affirm in you the reason for your faith in Jesus. And so we are just so excited. Every day we're on the program. This time, when you're watching this just now, we're on here every day at this time. And also on CTN on Monday nights at 9 o'clock. We are, that's Eastern time, every Monday night at 9 o'clock. You can watch us on DirecTV, channel 376, Dish on 262, Glory Star, channel 117. And we are, if you go to dailyfaith.tv, all of the programs are archived, and you can go back and check up on programs. I've got a feeling you'll be calling some of your friends saying, oh my Lord, go to Daily Faith TV and watch the Zach Drew interview that he had with Philip, because he spoke some stuff that I didn't know was going on. That's how important this program is. So I encourage you to do that right now. Call someone, text someone, and say, or share it on your page, and we are going to have a great time. I'm thrilled you're with us. I'm excited to have you along with Daily Faith. Welcome to Daily Faith. Hey, my friend, my name is Philip Cameron, and you've just happened upon Daily Faith. We are a program that's here every single day of the week, bringing faith-based, positive stuff into your life. Some of the great men and women of God in America and around the world today come on our program to share what God is showing them. There are watchmen in the body of Christ. There are people whose giftings and callings are to see what's coming next. In the old sail ships, before there was radar, there a guy that was up in the crow's nest, right up at the top of the mast. Not a very nice place to be, but that's where he was, because he could see further, because his vantage was different than those on the deck of the ship. And in the church today, God has appointed people to be these guys in the crow's nest. They're the ones that are up there watching and seeing and looking forward as to what's happening. And my guest today, Zach Drew, is one of these unique people. And I promise you, you're going to hear stuff today that you haven't heard anywhere else. And he has a gift to go and he can root out these nuggets of truth. And we just can't wait to have him with us today. Join us every Monday night on CTN right here. And it's on at 9 o'clock Eastern time on CTN. And you can watch CTN on DirecTV channel 376, Dish TV channel 262, and on Glory Star channel 117. And you can get those and watch us on Monday night, share it with your friends. And if you go to dailyfaith.tv, all of our programs are cataloged there. And I have a funny feeling that this is one of those shows you're going to be watching and rewatching and sharing with your friends, because we're going to have some amazing information. I also want to welcome you if you're watching us on Integrity, my dear friend Dale Hill's News Network, and I think you can keep an eye for it. It's growing also on Destiny, TCT, and on CTN. We are delighted to have you with us. I began this program 2.5 years ago now when the pandemic began to help and encourage pastors. And it's grown, it's taken on a life of its own. And there's two passions of my life, apart from my family, of course, that's Jesus and my family. But ministry-wise, Daily Faith is one that I come and talk to you every day. And the second one is 33 years ago, I was made to go by my dad to Romania. And in Romania, I found an orphan child, a little boy called Andrew. I adopted him. And in the process of adopting him, God broke my heart for the need of orphans. And over the last 33 years, we have built orphanages, we've rebuilt orphanages, we've fixed windows. You name it, we've done it. And 20 years ago, we went to a country called Moldova. And until recently, most folk had never heard of the name Moldova. But Moldova is where, right now, there are 490,000 Ukrainian refugees right on the border of Ukraine. And before this horrible war started, we had a home there. We built a home for young girls and boys who turned 16 in the orphanage systems are put on the street. Traffickers get them, use them 30 to 50 times a day. And we built this incredible place called Vatra Village. It's a village of 6 homes right next to the lake, the largest lake in the country. The houses were originally built for rich people. And so they were going to come and make this their summer home. As you can see the lakes in the background. And that lake had a lot of algae in it, and they poisoned the lake with chlorine trying to kill the algae. And they did, and they killed everything else, including this project of homes. And we bought these homes and they fixed them up. And these kids come to these houses and go back to school, are trained and are being educated in the best universities and colleges in the country. So between university and the gospel at Vatra Village, we are watching orphans turn to sons and daughters, and then sons and daughters being turned to missionaries. It's just the most amazing thing. So Vatra Village is in the country of Moldova. We also have a home in Ukraine, and that home had to be evacuated in Odessa because of the shelling. In fact, this morning, that's our home in Odessa you're looking at right now. This morning I discovered that the beaches, Odessa is on the Black Sea. It's called the Pearl of the Black Sea. And what they've had to do is the beaches of Odessa are famous in Europe. And what's happened is all of the beaches have been mined. And I read a report this morning that no one can go on the sand in the beach because the whole beach is landmined. And they're saying that because there's no beaches, then Odessa's tourist trade will completely go away. And they said that there's no beach, there's no Odessa. So this horrendous war that is continuing to unfold is horrendous. Our kids back in Moldova sent me a video last week of their graduation. These kids came to us with nothing, no hope, no purpose. And by God's grace and folk like you supporting us, we've put them back into school, and now they are beginning to graduate. And here are 12 kids that just graduated, and they sent me this video. Watch this.
Hello.
My name is Mamanita.
Catalina.
Ala. Natalie.
Sasha.
Anushka.
Tudor.
Juliana.
I had no future.
We didn't even have money for food.
not speaking about education.
I never had a home.
I used to choose my clothes from the trash.
I will never had a family.
I have never had hope for future.
I have two fathers that never loved me and never had a chance to higher education. But now, thanks to your help, prayers, and support, I have a chance to higher education, and now I finished my master's degree.
I finished my studies, and I have the opportunity to help my family.
I have a bachelor degree in education.
I have new clothes and an opportunity to become someone to help others.
I have a family and a degree in psychology.
I am a doctor. My future is bright and full of hope.
Mom, Dad, and all the sponsors, thank you for your support and help.
Thank you for your help.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I have a future.
Now I have a future, and that is the truth. Some of those kids have gone through abuse like you could never imagine. Imagine being told by your mother, we don't want you anymore. You're too much of a burden. And being sent to an orphanage. And then the workers at the orphanage say to you every day, your mother doesn't want you, your father doesn't want you, you're garbage. Nothing plus nothing will always be nothing. And that's how these kids have lived. And when they come to us at Vatra Village, we say to them, if you are born, God has a plan. And the girls are rescued from sex trafficking and the young men from slave labor. And they're put back into school. And you're looking, in fact, one of the kids, Natalia Vitu, has an amazing testimony. Her mother is bedridden and has been bedridden for years, and we were told of this woman's plight, living in a very poor village, living in a hovel. She was living in this horrendous conditions. And we went to see her. Our kids do this all the time, and this is the crazy thing. When they come to Vatra Village, we make them and get them involved in serving other people. They go and they cook meals for widows and broken homes, and they care for people. They'll read anyone that's unable, they'll dig the garden for them and plant vegetables. I mean, it's a service, because we found that by giving and reaching out beyond your own pain, that's where healing comes from. And so our kids are continually out. And what happened is, because our kids have learned to do this over the years and it's part of our DNA, when Russia invaded Ukraine, our kids were well able to do this and have been working at the border and caring for people all through this crisis of the last 100 days. Getting back to this young woman, Natalia Vitu, we went and her mother was sick. And we went into the home and we brought food and we brought wood for the fire, etc. And Holly noticed this little girl sitting in the bottom of the bed. And when our kids began to talk to this young girl, I asked her name, what her dreams were. And she wanted to be a doctor. And they came and asked me, and I said, well, what does that entail? It entailed 6 years of education, university, that we sponsored. It entailed caring for our mom to make sure our mom survived while she was gone to university. And last week, they sent me that video. And we now have a doctor, a young woman that had no dreams and hopes, is now Dr. Natalia Vitu. And I want you to watch this testimony of her life. It's a short video, but you get an idea how God changed and transformed this young girl. Watch this.
Hi, my name is Natalie. My life was hard since my childhood. I have 2 brothers and both of them are sick, mentally and physically. My parents could not take care of them, and because of this they have been sent to orphanage, and I didn't meet them. When I was 6 years old, my father died, and from that time I lived with my mother, who suffers from polyarthritis. And I had to be strong, had to take care of my mother, of my house, of school. Many times I was feeling that I was alone, that I couldn't pass through different problems, that no one support me. But always as by a miracle, I could pass over all obstacles. When I was most in need, different strangers was coming and was helping me with clothes, money, food, and with good words. Then I didn't understand why they do all of this, why they help me when my real relatives don't. But now I understand that all of this was the beautiful work of God. I was full of sorrow, but now I'm strong. I didn't have anything, but God gave me everything. He watched over me. He protected me from the evil of this world. And even now, He helps me to fulfill my dream, to become a doctor. When I met God, I understood how lucky I am because I have such careful Father. Because of this, I urge you to give Him your hearts, because He will give you back a happy heart full of peace and full of His grace.
Well done, Natalia. She is now Dr. Natalia Vitu. And your giving, your care, and your support of this ministry allows us to see those miracles take place every day. The crazy thing is, apart from them becoming sons and daughters and becoming doctors and psychologists and master's degree and bachelors of education, I mean, it's crazy what God is doing. They've become missionaries. And during this horrendous season in Russia invading Ukraine, our kids have just, they've blown my mind, to be honest with you. The first few days of this invasion, the border between Ukraine and Moldova was blocked with thousands of people. And our kids went up to the border and slept on concrete floors. There was no accommodation for them. And they'd go up in teams, literally in teams, and stay in this storeroom on the concrete floor. Would cook all day and then be there in case someone came in the middle of the night. And these orphans became superstars. A lot of the people that came through that border post would say to them, please give us your Facebook. We want to get in contact with you after this horrible thing is over. Wherever we go in the world, you can come and stay with us for us to thank you for your kindness. And orphans, that's why we're called the orphan's hands. The orphan's hands are being used to be God's hand extended. We are reaching out right now continually in Kyiv, in Irpin, Bucha, Odessa, and our kids are preparing tons, hundreds of tons, thousands of tons of clothes and food and blankets and give out to those horrendous... the news in America has moved on and we're now interested in Johnny Depp. But those families are still there, still stuck, still lost, still living in horrendous, cold, institutional buildings with a mat on the floor and nothing else. I want you to watch this video of orphans, all the kids you see carrying these blankets we're giving away. I want you to watch this as orphans become God's hand extended. Watch.
We cannot express how grateful we are for your kindness and grace in helping with the Ukrainian refugee crisis. The miracle of the orphan's hands is that kids who have been rescued from the threat of human trafficking are now the rescuers. We have been tirelessly working, cooking, giving away thousands of blankets and Bibles in the refugee camps in Moldova and at the border. We have been distributing hundreds of tons of food that is being transported to Kyiv, Irpin, and Odessa to churches who then distribute the food to those in dire need. From there, the opportunity to use food as a magnet to preach the gospel multiplies the impact of your gift. We are feeding the body as well as the soul. Please continue to pray for those whose hearts and lives we touch. Pray for Ukraine. Pray for the orphans' hands. We can only reach as far as your kindness allows. Thank you.
Every day, every night, these amazing kids of the orphans' hands are being God's hand extended to lives that have been shattered. Listen to me. 100 days ago, they all had jobs and nice homes and cars. Their kids were in school playing soccer outside in the evenings. And suddenly, in 100 days, their lives have been completely destroyed by Putin's madness and his bombs. Imagine sitting in your home one night and the house next door or the upstairs of your house is hit by a shell just shot from a cannon, and you are given a couple of minutes to grab your kids and grab a bag and run for your life. Your husband can't come because he's got to stay and fight. If he gets to the border, they turn him back. And these moms run with their kids in their arms, holding whatever they can grab in their house, paperwork, anything to identify them as a human, anything to let them know that they exist. Shove it in a bag, grab their kids, run. Sometimes there's a bus, most times there isn't. And you walk, and you've seen the video of them being shelled as they've walked. They run to the borders, Poland, Hungary, Romania, Moldova. Moldova is the poorest country in Europe. 2.5 million people. Has more refugees per population than any other country on the border of Ukraine. A country already bankrupt is now having to care for 490,000 refugees. It is unbelievable. 33 years ago, when I began this, I had no idea when I went to Moldova and put a home in Ukraine that suddenly the world would know where Ukraine was and where Moldova was. We haven't gone there because it's the hot place to go to be seen doing something. We've been there for 33 years, caring and loving those that are threatened by trafficking. Already, some of the organizations that have big megaphones that can buy a lot of TV time to tell you what they're doing have gone home. They've left because it's no longer in the news. We're still there, and we still need your help. These mothers are sitting, as I said to you, in great big buildings. They're given a mattress or a mat with their family, and that is their new world. That mat in that building is all they have. As you can see in that photograph, bright glaring lights. There's no privacy. You are literally an object. And you lie on that bed, you don't have money, you don't have transportation. If you have money, it isn't transferable into Moldovan lei. You sit there with your kids, your husband, you don't know if your husband's alive or dead, and you sit. Do you know how long days are? Do you know how long a day is when you would know where to go except into the world of fear and wondering what your husband or your dad or your grandfather, where he is he still alive? And these women are living like that right now. We give them a blanket. Now it's getting better weather-wise. When it first started, it was blizzards at the border. It was horrendous. But at nighttime, it's still cold. It's still chilly at night in that part of Europe. And that blanket we've given them, we had them specially made. In fact, there's a logo on the orphan's hand's name is on every blanket. But this woman that has a couple of kids, 3 kids, I don't know how many kids, that quilted blanket you're looking at, that is the only walls she has left in her family. That's the only walls of our home, that blanket. And at nighttime, when she lays down in that mat, she wraps her kids in the only walls she has left, a blanket. And it's the only thing with all the other people around her. It's the only thing that says to herself and to those, this is my family. I don't know where my husband is, but this is my family. And I'm asking you to help us. We buy these blankets in 1,000 blanket lots. They're $20 each. That's a $20,000 commitment every time we buy 1,000 blankets. I'm asking you if you could please sponsor 1 blanket. Sponsor 10 blankets. Maybe someone watching today can say, Philip, we can sponsor 1,000 blankets. Please get in contact with us so we can do that. We also give them a Bible in Ukrainian, in their language. And that's costing us €4 or about $5 per Bible. So for $25, you can give a mom sitting in an institution with blankets for a wall, with no husband. You can say to her, we care. You're more important than the latest news from Johnny Depp. You're more important than all the stuff and garbage that passes our TV screens. And I want to give. Right now, we are taking convoys of 6 vans down every week, down to Kyiv and to Irpin. It costs about $15,000 for the food alone for that convoy. It's a 12-hour one-way journey. And we bring it to pastors, and the pastors, as people come to get the food, the pastors preach the gospel to these people that have stayed behind. They're either sick or unable to travel, and they have sat for months now under the bombing of Russia in basements, hiding like animals in sewers, being bombed by the Russians. And they come out to get food that we bring them and the gospel that the pastors preach. Maybe you're watching, you can sponsor a whole convoy of these vans down to this place. Please help us. $15,000 would do that. You can get in contact with me right now by contacting me at the Orphans' Hands, P.O. Box 25, Clinton, Tennessee. The Orphans' Hands, P.O. Box 25, so simple. Clinton, Tennessee 37716. And you can say, Philip, I want to be a part of this. I want to be an answer to these dear souls' lives, because if we don't help them, there is no way to help. The quickest way you can give is by giving to dailyfaith.tv. There's a giving page right there. Go on there right now and you can give a gift. Or you can dial 1-833-DAILY-FAITH. Be God's hand extended in these days. What you make happen for someone else, God is going to make the same thing happen for you. Your family may be lost today, and you wish to goodness you could wrap a blanket around them. Well, this is one way you can sow that seed towards God intervening in your circumstance. Let God use you. Those that give today, I have a book entitled The Bummer Lamb. It's the story of how we got started. That we face in that crib is Andrew, that we adopted 33 years ago. That is the beginning. I took this photograph. It was the first photograph I took. I had no idea that I was taking a photograph of my future. And so you can get this book. It's a great story. The miracles that God gave us as we went to adopt him. Door after door was slammed in our face, and God made a way where there is no way. And if God can do that for a wee orphan in Romania, God can do the same thing for you in your circumstance. Reach out beyond your world. Now listen to me. If you reach out beyond your world, God will reach out into your world from his. I promise you. It's the law of sowing and reaping. So do that also, and help us, please, and pray for these poor people that have been forgotten by the world. It used to be 24 hours a day on TV, and now you can hardly find anything about Ukraine. I was talking to my nephew yesterday in Scotland, and he said it's the same. It's disappeared from the news. And that is sad, because the bombing today, I found a news source today, the bombing that the Russians are doing in the Donbass region is absolutely horrendous. This is like the First World War and the Second World War with modern equipment. Pray for these people, please. I am delighted to have with me a great man of God, a great visionary, a man that has the ability and the giftings that I don't have. when I'm looking for information, I check to see what Zach Drew is doing, because he's been figuring out what I think of, he's already thought of. And I find a great deal of information, pertinent, valuable information. And so he has a great show called the Zach Drew Show. And his website is www.zachdrewshow.com. Wherever you are, find it. This guy can bring you information and stuff that will help you know where the world is and what's happening. Zach, I am absolutely delighted to have you, my friend. How are you doing?
I am doing well, and let me tell you that it's an honor to be on your show. I love coming on your show every time. It's been a few months. We've both been incredibly busy, and I'll just say it's good to be back. You guys always feel like family.
Oh, I absolutely. I remember meeting you first on Jim Beggar's show, and I'm saying, who's this young kid that's down at the bottom of the panel? And then Jim said, "What's happening, Zach?" And you began to tell these things. I'm thinking, who is that down at the bottom of the panel? And you have blessed me and have enriched my life by your ability to look at what we are, where we are. And I think it's fair to say, Zach, that I don't remember in decades America and the world be in such turmoil in so many different areas all at the same time. Give us an idea where we are.
That's right. So I do believe that we are in the time of sorrows, preceding the Revelation events that Matthew 24 talks about. The thing is that Jesus doesn't tell us how long the time of sorrows lasts. We don't know if the time of sorrows is a decade or 5 decades. But from every end time scripture that we wouldn't have time to get into right now, all signs point to we are right now living in the time of sorrows, and the 4 horsemen are about to ride. And listen, I believe that the Lord has called me and this ministry, the Zach Drew Show, to be watchmen on the wall, to warn the people of what's to come and to prepare spiritually for their coming king and what they should do. But Jesus tells us to know the signs of the times. My goodness, he rebuked the religious leaders of the day and said it's easier, to filter it through layman's terms. It's easier to know the signs of the times, people, than the weather. That's what he was essentially telling the religious leaders of the day. And I believe that's our job, to proclaim to the people the times that we're living in. So here's the thing. We understand that for the beast system to come about, before that happens, before the Antichrist comes upon the scene, we're going to see a unified world. We can call it globalism.
One world order.
Am a exactly, a new world order. I'm a constitutionalist. I'm a conservative. I'm an originalist. I stand opposed to a new world order, globalism. But here's the thing. They've already been written in Revelation. So I will fight till the end, but the Lord's will must take place. So we're seeing a lot of globalistic tendencies on the rise. And we understand this, just to lay the foundation before I share some shocking news. People just don't seem to, I've been talking to people everywhere I go. Did you hear about Biden handing over our national sovereignty? And they say, no, they have no idea. But before I even get to that, I need to just lay a basic foundation and say this. One of the things that stands in the way of a new world order is a strong America. So when America falls, that's whenever they can come in with a new world order. I'm just trying to make it as simple as possible.
Absolutely.
And so that is why there's a lot of people for the destruction of America, because out of its ashes will arise a phoenix, and darkness will cover the earth at that point. So one of the things that has made America great individually is how our Constitution was written. There's many things that make America great. We were founded on biblical principles, which is the most important. We have a strong military. We are capitalists. There's many different things. But one of the things that was written into it that makes us great individually is our states are sovereign. We have the sovereign states.
Listen, people.
And one of the things that makes them, and one of the things that makes America as a country great is our sovereignty as a country throughout the world. Meaning we can't have other organizations, other countries telling us what to do. But in order for America to become less, something has to take place with our national sovereignty. People giving away our sovereignty for us to become less of the world. The NWO can become greater.
Zach, listen, what you're telling me is that this is a plan. What you're watching just now, now listen, folks, this just hit me like a train. Listen to me. What Zach is about to show you is these people that are making gas $7 a gallon. This is not a mistake. They're making gas $7 a gallon. They have got to weaken America down to the level of the world so that then we'll be glad to join the stronger union like the European Union, the fiasco that's been. And by diminishing America, I've always said this, that Obama wanted to make America like Europe. I'm European. I left Europe to come to America because America is the point of the world. So this is what you're talking about.
That's exactly right. So let's jump into it. So, the World Health Organization, they want to expand their global control. And President Biden is helping them along the way. Last month, and so many people don't even understand this just took place, the World Health Assembly, which is the governing body of the World Health Organization, WHO, they met to discuss potential changes to its pandemic treaty. Now, I'm going to go ahead and cut to the chasing and explain further. What's the cost for America? The cost is our national sovereignty, and more specifically, sovereignty over our bodies. Now, we know the Biden administration supports this. They secretly submitted amendments to the 2005 International Health Regulation in January of this year, and there was no media, there was no press. It was the world didn't know, right? And he also knows there would not be enough support for this. For example, for this treaty to go through, Biden understands he needs 67 votes in the Senate. He could not get that. He would not get that. So what does he do? He forces it through an executive order. That is how so many things are getting done right now. And now, why can he do this? Because we are still technically in a national emergency state because of COVID-19. So we can just push it through without the approval of the Senate. And he has already done that. Glenn Beck actually did a great piece on this. I sent it to your team. It's a minute and a half video. If we can play that right now.
Okay, let's watch this video.
So their goal is to create a pandemic treaty that will synchronize and consolidate the control under these global authorities, where they could basically lock you down. They could force, therapeutics on you. Say, you're a public health threat. This is what you need to do. We're going to declare your region a public health emergency, and we can do anything we want. Now, they were working on that for a while, and I was always wondering where the Biden administration was, because they support it. They were awfully quiet. Well, it turns out that they quietly submitted amendments to this 2005 International Health Regulations in January. No press conference, no press release on the whitehouse.gov website.
We sent them. Our White House sent them.
Yep, they sent them, and you could see the strike through.
Oh, yeah.
And basically, the upshot of it is it takes away the determination of the state. The WHO Secretary General shall, instead of may, do this. Took out all the consultation requirements with the state, but we didn't even know about this until a few weeks ago. And they're going to submit it at this conference. And like you said, the reason they're doing this is because Biden knows he doesn't have 67 votes for a treaty. So like everything else they do, rather than a treaty, a law, really everything they did throughout COVID, you just do it executively or make an end run around it. So they're going to have a de facto treaty without calling it that. And that's the way they plan on getting this passed. And look, Biden claims to already have the support of Canada and most of Europe.
What you're
So
telling
this
me,
treaty would mean.
listen, are you telling me that they want to keep this pandemic in place because it gives them extraordinary power? Is this what the bottom line is of why they want to keep the mask mandate going? They want to start new pandemics, and they want to keep all of us, because as long as this emergency clause is in force, they can do these ridiculous things to us.
That's right, and they can do it in light year speed. Because whenever there's a national emergency, we don't need necessarily all three branches to do anything. We just need the president to issue executive orders and then get done immediately. So this treaty would mean that in the next pandemic that they are planning right now, whatever they want it to be, the World Health Organization would be able to tell Americans what to do and what not to do. This is the most important part, without the approval of any of our elected officials. Let that sink in.
An edict.
So yeah, the Biden administration right before this held the Global COVID Summit, and it's very interesting. If you tune in at any given time, the general, I wouldn't even call it the general consensus. Every leader that was speaking at the Global COVID Summit, they were all in agreement. It was very weird. It was very eerie. It was very almost spooky from the outside looking in, that there is a worse pandemic coming in the last few months of this year, and that it is going to pale in comparison to COVID-19. They were all saying it. What do they know? It's very odd. Now, here's the thing. I don't know if they are planning it with monkeypox or not, or maybe now that COVID is dying, there simply just needs to be a placeholder before the next big one. Could it be, monkeypox is time to shine? Hey, step up! You're on the stage. Let's get this going. But here's something interesting, because it could be monkeypox. Did you know? I have an article here. Monkeypox was a tabletop simulation only last year. Now, elite media outlets around the world are on red alert over the world's first ever global outbreak of monkeypox in mid-May 2022. Just 1 year after an international biosecurity conference in Munich held a simulation of a global pandemic involving an unusual strain of monkeypox beginning in mid-May 2022. Now, monkeypox was first identified in 1958. The takeaway from this particular article is this: there has never in the history of mankind been a global monkeypox outbreak, ever, until now. In the exact week of the exact month predicted by the biosecurity people in their pandemic simulation. Now, that is very odd, because we know that it bears striking resemblance to the outbreak of COVID-19 just months after it was called Event 201, a simulation of a coronavirus pandemic almost exactly like COVID-19. Event 201 was hosted in October of 2019, just 2 months before the coronavirus was first revealed in Wuhan by the Gates Foundation, the World Economic Forum, Bloomberg, and Johns Hopkins. So, yeah, I think that the men and women speaking at the Global COVID Summit, they know something. I think we ought to be prepared, but we understand that it is planned and it's all a part of a game. This is just one more large stride in the road to globalism, because there cannot be any individuality. There cannot be any personal freedoms. Listen, socialism, communism, globalism works on automatization. It's just, just going like a robot. And here we have the freest country in the world, a country that thrives because of its individuality, our autonomy given to us by our forefathers in the Constitution, simply given away. And I absolutely believe, as a watchman on the wall, this is a sign of the times. That our redemption is drawing near.
If I told you 3 years ago that every church service in America would stop, that on Sunday morning there'll be no praise and worship ascending to God from this nation. You would have said to me, Philip, that will never happen in America. And it happened. And what we did is we gave away the keys of our liberty to these faceless bureaucrats that will never be accountable. Fauci will never be voted for, highest paid official in government, and he writes these edicts, and he has destroyed. How many kids' lives have been destroyed because of not getting into school and not being part of a normal life? It's going to take years and decades for this blip, if we have years and decades. And the church and the people of God are sound asleep and letting all this stuff happen with no response.
That's right.
Jesus.
That's right. And the thing is that it is Marxism that is accomplishing this.
Absolutely.
And I think we need if I can start moving in that direction.
Yeah.
I think it's really important as Christians that love the Lord, that read the word, that see these things happening, to always remember that we do not look to the things that we see to explain the things that we see. We look to the things that we cannot see to explain the things that we can see. You see, in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, it says, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers." Now we can see, right, the flesh and the blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Because here's the thing, we can see the Marxists in our schools and our universities, holding public offices. We can see them riding in the streets. We can know the names of the deconstructionists, and we can put faces to those names. We can observe the powerful entities promoting a postmodern philosophy today, a philosophy that says that there is no absolute truth. Rather, truth is fluid, ever-changing, and experiential. I think if we can just pause there before I even go, I think it's so important to kind of break this down just for a moment, that we have Marxism that was given to us by Karl Marx. And then Antonio Gramsci kind of came in and changed it up, because there was just, Marxism said it was the capitalists versus the working class. It was two people and pitted them against each other. That was it. A very simple philosophy. The bourgeoisie and the proletariat, the capitalists and, the working class, the haves and the have-nots, just two categories of people, pit them against each other. That's Marxism. But cultural Marxism has many different subcategories given us to Antonio Gramsci, which he kind of came in, took what Karl Marx did, because the people didn't like that regular Marxism ended with the gulag. So he kind of came in and gave it a new facelift. And so now you've got to establish who is the bad guys, who is the bourgeoisie now. And they have established it. They've established that the haves right now, this is the enemy of globalism. The enemy of everything that they want to accomplish is this. It's the culture hegemony made up of white, male, American, cisgendered, straight, able-bodied Christians. That is the enemy of everything that's going on. Now, here's the thing. So that's cultural Marxism. And now we have, that's a philosophy.
Oh my.
So then the other philosophy is the postmodern philosophy, which the postmodern philosophy says that, truth is up for grabs. Anything can go. But it's these two philosophies working together, white, male, American, cisgender, straight, able-bodied Christian, cultural Marxism, pit them against everybody else. And then the cycle would simply, just so you know, the cycle would simply, the haves become the have-nots. And then the enemy is the opposite of those seven things. And then it switches again, and then it switches again, and it switches again, while the 1%, the elites of the world, get richer and more powerful. So, but it's the Marxism philosophy and the postmodern philosophy working together that gives so much power to the deconstructionists, right? So whenever you filter through deconstructionists and cultural Marxism, now you can say, hey, what does it mean to be American? What does it mean to be straight? And filtering it through a postmodern philosophy, where now they can pose questions like, what is life? And in the same breath, kill our babies. What is sex? And in the same moment, be able to identify 28 new genders. the deconstructionists can say, okay, well, white male Americans are bad. Cultural Marxism. Well, who founded America? Well, I guess it was primarily white male, cisgender, straight, able-bodied Christians. So now America is bad. So deconstruct what it means to be America. And that's where they can come in, like I said, with the cultural side of it and change things that we've always known to be truth, male and female, what is sex, what is freedom and all these other things. But this is a spiritual battle, Philip, that must be fought with biblical principles, with prayer, with faith, and with radical action.
You are pointing out so succinctly where America is today. I was watching, just before the program started, I was just looking through some news feeds. And yesterday, Biden was on I forget his name, Kimmel's show in California, and I mean, gas is $6-7 a gallon. It's going to go higher. You ain't seen nothing yet. Promise you haven't seen anything yet. They're reconfiguring gas pumps to have $10 a gallon gas because they want to deconstruct America. And Joe Biden said, "I've got great hope." Listen now, while the world is falling around our ears, we can't feed our babies formula. Millions of people are coming into this country illegally that will bankrupt this society. Bankrupt this society. Do you get to be flown around the country to where you want to go and the government pay it? Do you get free stuff from the government all the time? But people coming in, you got to wear a mask, but they don't have to wear a mask. It's unbelievable. And everyone is so afraid to speak up on these things in case we're labeled the bigot that they have defined in that list that you've just made. So Biden yesterday is saying, our young people are the best they've ever been. They're the most educated they've ever been. And this is what he said: watch your TV program. How many biracial commercials there are on your TV program now? And his value system is to prove how progressive we're becoming. Not my words, his words, is because there's biracial. I have a black brother who's had a white wife for 40 years. No big deal. But this is their measurements that they're using to deconstruct the value systems of America.
That's exactly right. And here's another Marxist article. I live in Illinois. Governor Pritzker is a Marxist.
Yes,
so he has to pit the haves versus the have-nots, all while he becomes richer and more powerful. So you mentioned the baby formula and the shortage.
Yeah.
Here, article, it says, Pritzker asks stores to set aside baby formula. Says Governor J.B. Pritzker announced that in coordination with the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Food and Nutrition Service, Illinois retailers are being encouraged to set aside formula for low-income families enrolled in the Special Supplement Nutritional Program for Women, Infants, and Children. It's called WIC, the WIC program here in Illinois. But just think about that. Think about how absurd that sounds for just a moment. There is a shortage for everybody. There's a shortage for people that have money in the bank, and there's a shortage for people that have no money in the bank. So what is Governor Pritzker's solution? Remove it from the shelves and give it to low income, to have-nots, even though it's the exact same situation.
Yeah.
If there's no baby formula, then there's no baby formula. So while one category of people have babies that are hungry and crying, the other category of people have babies that are hungry and crying. So what's the solution? No, it's not to issue like they did during coronavirus, many grocery stores, hey, 2 things of toilet paper for each individual. No, there was no rationing. There was no determining how many kids or anything like that. No, it was simply just take and give to the have-nots and let the haves suffer. And this whole thing of have, it's all an illusion, but it's to put us against one another.
Pit
and
each
here's
other
another
against each other. Wow.
Yes. Here's another article. Oak Park, and this is going to deal with more. So the first one was Marxism. Now this is going to be cultural Marxism. Oak Park and River Forest High School administrators will require teachers next school year to adjust their classroom grading scales to account for the skin color or ethnicity of its students. In an effort to equalize test scores among racial groups, OPRF, which is Oak Park and River Forest High School, both schools in the Chicago area, will order its teachers to exclude from their grading assessment variables it says disproportionately hurt the grades of Black students. They can no longer be docked for missing class, misbehaving in school, or failing to turn in their assignments according to the plan. This is cultural Marxism in its finest. Because if you ever want to understand if it's cultural Marxism, then simply just replace the word Black with white. And if you think it's racist, then it's cultural Marxism. I can tell you right now, so I'll actually do that. I'll read that again and I'll replace the words. And this is going to sound so racist, and I would never, ever, ever be for this. In an effort to equalize test scores among racial groups, the school district will order its teachers to exclude from their grading assessments variables it says disproportionately hurt white students.
Oh my goodness.
That hurt.
I can hear them now.
Can you imagine? That would make my blood boil.
Absolutely.
I have 2 precious children. I would say absolutely not.
in a million
If they
years.
fail, then tell me they're coming home and I'll deal with it. Do not give them special privilege just because they're white, right? How racist would that be?
Unbelievable.
White kids can no longer be docked for missing class. White kids can no longer be docked for misbehaving in school or failing to turn in their assessment.
White privilege.
Exactly.
White privilege.
That would be so racist. And this is culture. This is how they break down a society. This is how they are systematically destroying America. According to the Illinois State Board of Education, 38% of the students, sophomore students taking the SAT failed. The OPRF failure rate was 77% for Black students, and it goes on, so on and so forth. So last year, West Cook News reported on an adjusted grade point average scale implemented in the school district. It lowered the score for an F to 19%. So you're just seeing it, and I wrote to your producer, Kinsey, and I said, listen, the takeaway of this is that we know that the Antichrist is going to operate in a Marxist communist philosophy, a type of government. So as we draw nearer to the end times, we should expect these Marxist articles to start popping up.
Sure. Absolutely.
Like kernels in a bag of popcorn, 60 seconds left on the microwave. I mean, just radically popping up like crazy. That is what we can expect because we are in the end of times.
Unbelievable. Zach, every time you come on this program, you stir my spirit because the church, we're so into being liked and popular and the fact of the matter is that we are all called to be the watchman on the wall. God uses you in a unique way. But I'm watching, and I'm Scottish, I come from a socialist country. I know what's going to happen next. Scotland in this last pandemic, we were given much more draconian restrictions than England because it's a different culture. The woman that's in charge of our country is a nutcase, to be quite honest with you. And I just want people to know, we've got to have you on more often. We cannot allow months to go past. We've got to set up at least a monthly visit with you because what you're talking about is important. I need you watching me just now to support Zach Drew. I want you to help this man's ministry.
Thank you.
It is so unique. It is so unique and so important. He's a watchman on the wall. Now let me give you his address. I want you to send an offering to him today. And I don't do this unless I really feel it's the Lord's will. And I want you to help him get this message out because you know that what he's talking about isn't popular with the world. And he won't get much encouragement from the world, but it's a church's responsibility. It's really simple. The Zach Drew Show, his address is 797 Decatur, Illinois, P.O. Box 797. There you are, the information is up on the screen. 797 Decatur, Illinois, 62525. 62525. Let it up there for a while. And you can contact him, and I'm sure there's a giving part of his page, ZachDrewShow.com. And I encourage you today, if everyone watching this, and as this is being replayed, if it's on CTN, I want you to help this ministry because we cannot allow these kind of voices to be silenced. You Don't cry if suddenly this program goes off the air and the value of his input into this dialogue is gone. And Zach, time is gone. Thank you for being with me today. Let's schedule before today is done that you can be back on this program to help us keep going. Time is gone.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Time is gone. We thank you for watching Daily Faith today. Tune in again. We'll see you again soon. Look up, your redemption draws nigh. Bye-bye.
For over 25 years, the Cameron family has been changing the lives of orphans in Romania and Moldova. From providing running water, flushing toilets, and clean wells, to coal for heat, new windows, as well as food and clothing. They champion the physical needs of the orphans in these broken and desolate countries. Many of Moldova's orphans are saved from the horrors of trafficking through homes founded by the Camerons, and in the process, orphans become daughters and sons. They come to know their Heavenly Father and are forever changed by the love of Jesus. God help the Camerons lift these amazing young men and women out of darkness. Now, no longer orphans, they want to return and invade that very same darkness with the light of Jesus Christ. The Orphan's Hands equips these daughters and sons to become missionaries. Your monthly gift of $31 will allow us to rescue and take in more girls and boys, saving them from the hell of human trafficking. Your monthly partnership will allow us to care for those in the Orphan's Hands homes in Moldova and the Ukraine. If you want to join Philip and Chrissy in taking care of these precious young people, please contact us today by calling 833-DAILY-FAITH. You can also give by going online to www.dailyfaith.tv or by writing to Post Office Box 25, Clinton, Tennessee 37716. So many lives depend on what we do. Thank you for loving the lost. If you are a pastor, church leader, or business owner and would like to have Philip Cameron come and speak to your church, conference, or event, please call 1-833-DAILY-FAITH or go to pastors.philipdcameron.com or request by mail at attention Andrew Cameron, Post Office Box 25, Clinton, Tennessee 37716.